My name is Darren Gerdes, and this is the Daily Brief. So the Russians, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, have just crossed over the loss of 400,000 killed or wounded. Now, I recognize, as somebody pointed out, a statistician pointed out, you can't rely on just one source. Well, this is the best source that we have. The U.S. estimates are not all that far behind. It's not 400,000, but it's not all that far behind. But just using the Ukrainian estimates, and I've been pointing this out, we're under 2 years. And a couple weeks ago, I was saying, hey, by the time we get to that 2-year mark, we're going to actually be at 400,000. And then I revised it a week ago to say by Sunday, and then I revised it yesterday to say it's happening tomorrow, which is today. It happened. So they crossed over with, all they needed was 910 casualties. They crossed over with 1210. Now, look at this. The Russians have the ability to put out about 3 tanks a day. They lost 23 tanks yesterday. That's pretty significant, and that's something to keep your eye on. Okay, let's look at some other stories. Tavarsky direction amounted to 711 of the military casualties of yesterday. Of course, a lot of the fighting is in Avdiivka, and Avdiivka is looking like a kind of pretty bad situation. Ukrainian forces may be forced to withdraw from their positions in the key eastern town of Avdiivka as Russian forces conduct tactical turning movement. Now, I'm not a military guy, so I was looking up tactical turning movement. I thought I understood it. A turning movement is a form of maneuver in which attacking force seeks to avoid the enemy's principal defensive positions by seizing objectives behind the enemy's current position. And so they're trying to kind of encircle or get behind them. And so the defenders in Avdiivka have to get out and find a new defensive line somewhere else. And that's exactly what they're saying here in this article. Ukrainian forces give up some positions in Avdiivka as Russian assault continues. Ukrainian forces have withdrawn from some positions at Avdiivka as a grinding Russian assault on the city continues amid fears it's a matter of time before the invaders take over. Ukraine's recently appointed army chief, Syrsky, has sent reinforcements to aid in the defense of Avdiivka, but this is like to shield people on the way out as they're retreating from the city. We value every piece of Ukrainian land, but highest value and priority for us is the preservation of life of every Ukrainian soldier. Okay, a little bit more to this story, though. Ukraine's war efforts already affected by the block of $60 billion of U.S. aid, says the NATO chief, Jens Stoltenberg, who said he believed Congress will eventually approve the stalled $60 billion package, but cautious remarks came as NATO officials warned that Russia was making significant gains near the frontline town of Avdiivka. Yeah, it'll happen. They'll get the deal. They'll work their process through Congress. It's unfortunately taking far longer than it should. In the meantime, the Russians are gearing up more while the West kind of dithers. Now, the EU, not EU, but countries in the EU have stepped up. The Brits stepped up and created a separate deal. The French are concluding a deal today that's a bilateral pact with Ukraine. The Germans will be doing this soon as well. So it's happening. But the timeline is the problem. The fact that the U.S. has not been able to make a decision so far has already had consequences. It's impacting the flow of support. Avdiivka is at risk of falling into Russian control. John Kirby told reporters, that's the American spokesperson at the about defense, in very large part, this is happening because Ukrainian forces on the ground are running out of artillery ammunition. And so when you have to pull your punches, it makes it very hard to defend Avdiivka. Okay, switching gears. Alexei Navalny has died in prison. Who's he? He was a Russian opposition figure to Putin. He was just going for a walk, lost consciousness after whatever kind of harsh treatment that he's had. Putin kills. This is Anton Gurashenko. Putin kills and will continue murdering anyone he wants. Another story. This is RT talking about Navalny. Navalny dead, according to the prison service. Said the same kind of things, and that the Kremlin said that President Vladimir Putin has been informed. I'll bet. And finally, saying Navalny died is wrong. Navalny was killed by Putin. That's the right way to say it. And there may be something to that. We don't know exactly, but there may very well be. But I bet you Tucker Carlson, who went on and on about Gonzalo Lira, who was actually taking pictures and sending them to the Russians, and that's why he was in jail for treason against Ukraine. And Tucker went on about him. I bet you Tucker's not going to say a whole lot about Navalny because it doesn't fit his narrative. Okay, so this was interesting. The commander of the Black Sea Fleet is to be dismissed after the Caesar Kunikov disaster. So this last ship that was hit in the Black Sea. So this is like a third of Russia's Black Sea Fleet is now underwater or disabled or something. And so the commander of the Black Sea Fleet to be dismissed. And I thought, that sounds odd. Well, who we're talking about this guy. Remember him? Russian military correspondents reported that the head of the Russian Black Sea Fleet might have lost his position after Ukraine armed forces destroyed the Caesar Kunikov landing ships. According to some Z channels, the duties of the commander of the Black Sea Fleet are currently performed by the chief of staff. Now, but if you remember who this guy was, wasn't he the guy that was at least theoretically hit in that strike in Crimea, and then they put him on TV as he's okay. Sokolov is appearing in this video conference. But then if his duties are already currently being performed by the chief of staff, is he still with us? I don't know. I don't know one way or another. I'm just saying, like, this, it seems odd that maybe that's an excuse to get, say he's now no longer going to be in charge, or I have no idea. Okay, next story, and this I found really fascinating, and it's fascinating for a reason. More predictable. Vladimir Putin says that he prefers Joe Biden to Donald Trump, and he's being interviewed, and he says in this interview broadcast on Wednesday that he preferred Joe Biden to Donald Trump, but was willing to work with any president. He was saying that because, Biden's more stable. I know he's predictable. I know what I'm going to get out of Biden, but he doesn't know what he's going to get necessarily out of Donald Trump. Now, I know some of you are scoffing at that and going, well, he knows exactly what he's going to get because Trump's in his pocket and whatever. Well, but Donald Trump is not an ideologue who's predictable in a meaningful way like Biden is. Like you can actually kind of know where Biden's going to go. Trump, not so much. And because he doesn't have an ideology, he could turn on a dime and be just as opposed to Putin as he is apparently for Putin in his current iteration. So maybe there's something to that, or maybe it's just a mind game by Putin. I don't know. Whatever you think, put in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.